Hello again everyone and welcome back to this channel. So I have another exciting tutorial for you today. In a previous couple of videos I introduced you to the amazing Three.js library. We went over some basics on how to add your scene, camera, and also we rendered a simple box in the scene and did some performance optimizations as well. And then we refactor our code in the second part to make it better and more production ready, so to say, which helped us also fix some of the errors that we were getting. And finally, we made sure that the object in the scene, all of them are basically responsive to any window resizing that happens. If, for example, the website visitors, let's say, move the browser tab to a smaller or larger screen while they're checking out the website, we made sure that is also addressed. And I put a link to those videos in the description of this video. Also, you'll see some pop-ups during this video. But in this video, I'm going to show you how to use what we've learned so far at a more like production level. Because adding a cube or like a sphere or any 3D object to this scene by itself is kind of cute, but probably useless unless you're like using it for actual 3D models. So for example, I have built this website. This is an academic website, and so like this person I made the website for, they like wanted to show molecules in 3D. So it's like basically a lot of spheres that I have, and like they have like different kind of molecules, and that's like what I had to use, like just simple spheres with like different colors for that. But overall, this is probably a very special use case. You can actually use Three.js to do much more, and that's what I'm going to show you in this video. I basically will start by adding image texture to objects in this video, and then this will enable us to do a lot of cool animations and interactions with the images. And I will cover some of those interactions in a future video, but right now we're going to focus on adding textures mainly and making that work. So before we get started, one quick note: if you're new to this channel, please make sure to hit the subscribe button below and turn the notifications on so you're the first to know when I publish a video. So as always, first thing we're gonna do is to get the starting code for this tutorial. I will post a link on the description of this video so that you can go and get this code. It's basically the final code from the last video, and you can go there, click on this code and download the zip file or clone it. Once you do that, open the project folder in VS Code, Sublime Text, any ID that you use, and then first thing we need to do is npm install to make sure that we have all the packages installed that you can see inside this package.json file. And after that, we are going to do npm start to start our dev server. I have mentioned in all my previous videos these files and folders here. I have an original video where I explain all these, and make sure to go check that out if you don't know what this is. And we've been adding to that boilerplate, and right now we have most of our code so far in there. So once we start our dev server, we go to localhost 3000, and as you remember, we have added in the previous video, we added this Three.js page, and we added like this cube, and we talked about a lot of things there. Go back, check that out if you don't know what I'm talking about. But here in this video, we are going to add some texture to this cube, and if you go to the Three.js website, if you look for texture and texture loaders, you will see this page, and basically we're gonna follow this same process, at least some of it, and then add our texture, start adding the textures. So in the app folder, that's where we have all our front-end JavaScript files and folders. We created this canvas folder in the previous video, and index.js under Three.js is basically the main file that has all the Three.js related code for this page. If I go there and I copy this texture code here, we can add that right here before we define our cube geometry and material. So I'm gonna add it here, and then I will just follow the pattern that we're having. Added this keyword. Now we need to create a new folder here under our static folder. I'm gonna call it textures, and I'm going to bring a couple of textures here. First texture that I have, let's see, here I am going to bring this image here under our textures, and then it's just an image just to show how things work. And if we go back to the texture loader from Three.js website, we see that we need to basically add that texture as a map on our mesh basic material. Instead of having like a color, that's all we have right now, just a bluish color, blue greenish color here for the cube, and then we're gonna replace that with the texture. And let's see what we'll get. I'm just formatting this code a little bit. Now let's save it, and if we go back, we are going to see that we have that texture, hopefully. Oops, sorry, we need to make sure the name of this file is correct. So we have img.jpg. That looks good. Now let's go back, and it's gonna reload, and once it's reloaded, now we see, well, I should have just copied this here instead of texture. It's a good thing we can like make sure we are able to debug our code. So that's a good thing actually just happened. Now you can see that we have that texture on all the 6 faces of this cube, and we can zoom in and out, and it looks like it's working fine. And the quality of the picture is not really super good, so we can actually try it with a better quality. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you're adding like texture, the quality matters. Another thing you would want to add, sometimes I have noticed that some of the pictures are really like, even though the quality is good, but they don't show as well on the screen. So what you need to do sometimes is to add the transparent key and set it as true. That will help with some of the just inconsistencies, and like your picture is supposed to be high quality but you don't see it there. But that's not for the case for this image. I just wanted to show you that like if I zoom out a little bit here, you can see that the quality of the image is not that well. Anyways, also previously I mentioned this like anti-alias equal to true. When we set that, it will also help with like getting rid of some jaggedness in our images. So what I'm gonna do right now, I am going to bring another more high quality image, just like this city, and I'm gonna replace that with city.jpg. And then if we go back here after it reloads, we should be able to see our image here, and you can see basically that everything looks better, much better, because the quality is higher. I'm gonna move that cube to the center just because it's a little bit easier. So here, this is the code that I'm setting the position like at 222. So I'm just gonna comment that out, and this way it's easier to zoom in and out. And also I will move my camera closer to the image, the cube, just like putting it on the Z point of 2. So it's going to be right in front of it, as you can see here. And if I like drag and move, you can see all the 6 sides. Now there are a few things that I want to point out here. First thing is that if you zoom in, you really don't, when you go inside this cube, you don't see anything. So it's like only you see the outside side, the outer side of the cube. And there is a fix for that. You can add the side key here, and the value for that will be 3 double side. And if we save this now, you can see that your cube, actually if you zoom in inside the cube, you can still see things there. So here I'm inside the cube, and you can see we see like the other side of the cube. So these 2 smaller, shorter buildings are on the right now, but if we go out, they're on the left. So basically we are looking from the other side. That's one thing. The other thing is we want to let's say you want to add different pictures to different sides of this cube. And there is a way to do that as well. So first of all, we need to define another texture to load the other picture. And for that, I'm going to bring another picture. Let's say this one here. And what I'm gonna do, that is called Veil, and it's PNG. And then we also need to add a material for that. So I'm gonna call this one material 1, and this one is gonna be material 2, texture 1, and texture 2. And the way to include that in our cube is basically, instead of 1 material, now we have 2. We need to define an array here, and that array will include all our images, so all our material. So 1 and 2 are our material. If we save right now, there is going to be a problem here, and that's because we have 6 sides to this cube, but we have only defined 2 of these materials. So make sure to actually put at least 6 of these images. If you these materials, if you do like 7 or 8, it's gonna only take into account the first 6 materials. So make sure you have at least 6 there, and once you save that, you will see here that we have a texture on each side of our cube. And since we have set the side to double side, you can see both of like from inside and outside. There is also a back side, I believe. Yes, back side. That means that you can only see from behind, basically. So now if you look at this for the veils, I did backside, and now you don't see this guy in this, right? The face that's facing us. You see these 2 other ones because that's their backside. If I go to the front, you don't see it, and now this one appears. So you see things from the backside. And of course, if you don't set anything there, it's gonna be only from the front side. And that's what we originally had there. So yeah, this is basically, you can add textures here. One thing to note is that this probably this may be something you would do in a website, but if you like zoom in here, it might not be something that you would use. I just feel like maybe if I do double side here again, and we go back there, I'm just showing you things, just maybe some ideas will inspire from here. If you like zoom in here, you see like you're given a 3D, like 360 experience to your user if your website is something that you want to have that. By the way, you can get rid of this background there. If you go to the 3JS CSS file, you can add a position of absolute, and that's gonna get rid of the background, the dark background here, so you can see the whole thing. So what I'm trying to say is that, like, for example, if you zoom in, you can like show a 360-degree experience to your users. Let's get rid of the helper here, the axis that we have, like these XYZ axis. And previously we also did some kind of animation by rotating that cube around the X and Y axis. And now you can see like some kind of experience that you want to give to your user. And of course you want to put your camera probably inside the cube, which the center 000 would be a good location. And if we go back, we see that right now. So like basically we are inside. It's kind of like an experience you want to give to your user from like a 360-degree or something like that. I'm just like throwing out ideas there. Just maybe someone gets inspired by that. So let's comment the animation out, and we can get the axis helper back, and we can move our camera outside also. Let's do here, and then we can also move our cube a little bit outside the 0, 0, 0 position. And once we do that, I just wanna show you like we can add other stuff here also, and I will be adding. Let's also move the camera a little bit back 5 and do 5 here. Just keep it there. So this is one thing, like you have cube, obviously there may be just limited use case for this cube here, but if we go to my website, for example, I have this SphereGeometry here, and that's exactly what I've done there. You see like this like earth, all I've done is to like grab a earth texture. Basically, if you like Google word texture map, you can like find that, and I've downloaded it, and I've used the same exact technique to add it on top of the sphere. And then of course like the animation, the sphere movement, that's something else that I will cover later on in a tutorial using GSAP library. And also these like lines here, those are using GLSL fragment and vertex shaders. I'll talk about them also in detail later on, but just for the sphere and earth, that's how I've done it. So I have a sphere geometry, and then I put like a texture on top of it, and I can actually show a sample right now. What I'm gonna do is just like copy a code that I already have that includes another like a sphere geometry, and then I'll show you that right here. I'm bringing it over, and yes, so after we add our cube, we can comment out this console.log. So what I have here is a sphere buffer geometry. I call it earth geometry, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm adding that texture one, that city texture on the top of it, and then it's also double side. And I'm adding the geometry and material to make the mesh, and then eventually at last I'm adding this earth to my scene. And that's what we covered in the previous videos. Go check those out if you want to know more about that, or if you don't know what I'm talking about. So if we go back, now we have this also sphere here, which has the image. So obviously it's not like an earth texture, it's not round, it was just like a simple like square or a rectangle square image. And then so you'll see like it has to like kind of like attach the two sides anyway, so that's why this thing is happening here. But like if you have a earth texture, it's just gonna come together very smoothly and nicely. So that's that. And if you go in again, like you can have a better 360 experience here, maybe with a sphere geometry. But I should say that the most used geometry for adding texture that I've seen everywhere is PlaneGeometry, and that's what I'm gonna add right now here after this sphere geometry. I'm adding this PlaneGeometry here basically, and then I'm still using that same material as texture one, the texture one on the material, and then adding geometry and material to make my mesh, and then add that to the scene. So this PlaneGeometry, this technique is something that a lot of people use. If you look at a lot of creative development, that's what you will see there. Here that image is like right in the middle, that plane, you can see it. Again, I have double-sided, I believe on. If it's not double-sided, you will only be able to see it from the front. So if I rotate, it's gone. You can see that it's gone. And then I have here, so even like combining these two kind of looks like cool. You can create great stuff. The main point of adding these textures to these planes is that Three.js will allow you to do very cool animations by adding textures to planes or like any object. You can like add some cool hover effects. If I go, for example, to their website, I'm pretty sure that like you can find probably this one here, this like cool effect. They're probably adding this like image on top of the plane, and then they are animating every single like vertex of that plane. We'll talk more about it in future videos. When I mentioned vertex and fragment shaders and GLS programming, that's what I meant. Like you can do this kind of cool stuff with that. In my website also, if we go to like the home page and in the my process section, I've also used like the PlaneGeometry, and I'm not doing any particular animations there, but just like to show this list of questions. This is actually a PNG or JPEG file that I have as a texture on top of a plane, and it allows me to do some cool stuff, but I haven't like done much. Just like I thought it would be a good use case on this page to include that. So let's see. I think that's all I wanted to cover today. I will post the final code that I have here on the GitHub, on my GitHub, and then I will put a link to that in the description of the video. And next video that I'm gonna work on is probably gonna be creating some logo like this up here. This is like my initials and some kind of like in the geometry here. It's not like too fancy and anything like that, but I just want to show you like we have also text geometry that you can use using Three.js. I will show you how to create something like this in the next video. So we are going to have a lot more about Three.js, and if you like this video, if you found it helpful, please make sure to like it, and then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn the notification bell on. As I said, I will have a lot of new videos, cool videos that I will be explaining, a lot of modern concepts that I'm sure you will enjoy in basically using those in your websites. If you have any questions or comments, please make sure to leave a comment in the comment box below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Make sure to play with these textures, different geometries, and look at the Three.js website to see like search for textures. And they have some also some examples there that you can take a look at. So make sure to do all that, and then I'll have more videos, of course, and explain things more clearly. So thanks a lot, everyone, and I'll see you soon.